Hello, my name is Cynthia Harder, and here is my presentation on my e-archive of adult and community education at Ball State University, EDAC 632, this spring 2024 with Dr. Chang. So what is adult and community education? Adult and community education can include a wide range of learning. It's usually designed to help people gain a new skill, get back into learning, develop their interest in a subject, or prepare for a higher level of study. We can classify education as formal versus informal versus non-formal. So formal education is what people typically think of. It's like when you go to school generally, or you're maybe taking a certification course that's for a job. So for example, going to kindergarten through high school up until now adult education would be more like university or college level. Also, there could be specialized training or for your job, technical or professional training courses where you're getting like a formal certification, something like that would be more considered formal education. Informal education is something that is more of a lifelong process. It might be something that you take like a little class, like at your local college on painting or oh, you could take a class on knitting or something like that, like building a skill, taking a cooking class, going and getting certified in first aid. I feel like could maybe even be slightly considered formal education because you are generally getting a certification. But a lot of times people just want to take the class or like a class where you learn like self-defense, something like that would be more informal education. Or if you volunteer, like one time I trained to be a volunteer at my local zoo, something like that would be more informal. Um, but there is maybe a bit more structure to something like informal as opposed to non-formal education, which is really can be pretty much anything where you're learning, which is even just through your daily experiences. So reading a book, reading an online article, listening to a podcast, or watching a video. Um, Going on one of the language learning apps to learn a new language. I would say even doing something like Sudoku puzzle or something like that, going to your community book club, or going and spending time with one of your parents or your grandparents and learning a skill like how to change your oil or how to how to can vegetables or something like that. That's more non-formal. Even things like just travel, like going and seeing a new culture and interacting with people that you normally wouldn't, that could be considered non-formal education. So some goals of adult and community education may be encouraging personal and or professional development. I think a lot of times we're thinking about our professional development with education, but education can involve a lot more than that. It can be personal development, or even just academic, just to learn. Career and or skill building, just to foster lifelong learning. Enhancing your life skills, so learning to cook, learning to balance your checkbook, or even digital literacy, things like that. Supporting entrepreneurship, promoting environmental stewardship and sustainability, so learning how to compost or how to recycle and things like that. Supports your physical and mental health. So you could take a yoga class, which could potentially support both of those things. Um, and also cultural preservation and appreciation. So we may go to like where I'm from, we have like an Arab festival, we have Greek fest, we have like Hispanic festivals, things where you can learn more about cultures and also they're getting people from that culture are able to preserve and express their culture. Also, you can increase social inclusivity. So by having these opportunities for people to get together, especially if we're focusing on including everybody, that's another goal of adult and community education. So on that note, something that's especially important to many adult and community educators, and myself included, is diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I believe, and I think most adult and community educators believe that it should be equitable, equitably accessible to all. So I use the word equitably specifically as opposed to just equally because equitably more implies that we have to be aware that some people may have barriers to learning. So if someone may have a disability or may come from a group that isn't historically included in certain opportunities. We should try and even go out of our way to make sure that they are that our educational opportunities are accessible and they're included in that. I believe we should utilize a social justice framework, and that means to rectify inequalities, discrimination, and injustices within a society, essentially. So we should have that goal. And by providing educational opportunities and fostering lifelong learning, I believe that if we keep that in mind, that you can achieve those aspirations. Increase cultural sensitivity, so increase the awareness, understanding, and respect of other cultures, norms, values, and customs. So that's something we should be aware of, is especially as an educator or someone working in the field, administering those kinds of programs. You're going to want to be aware that some people may have different cultural norms than you, and so they may not feel like they can speak up in class or something. Or and I can't think of any other examples right now, but things like that. Do you just want to be aware, or why they may dress a certain way, things like that. We should be encouraging community building. So we want everybody in the community to feel included, no matter their background. And also, we should want to empower individuals and marginalized groups so that they feel like they can um, they can reach and achieve their personal goals, especially if they come from a type of a group where they may have barriers to that kind of thing. Um, some benefits of adult and community education can include mental health. So it can give you a greater sense of identity, a higher ability to cope with life, a better sense of purpose, greater sense of overall happiness, and it can keep your mind active. And so it could stave off things. There's some studies that show it can help stave off things like dementia. It can increase your social connections, getting together for a book club or something like that, or even just being in a class with people who have a similar interest can increase your social connections. Improve your interpersonal skills because you are interacting with others. Improving your self-confidence and self-esteem. Feeling like you know more, feeling like you're building your skills, all those things can help improve your self-confidence and self-esteem. There are some studies that show that increasing education across the board can also reduce crime. Also, of course, getting more education often leads to better and greater employment opportunities. Can also improve your leadership skills. And engaging in learning in any form, I think, can be inspiring to others. If you're a parent, for example, you're showing your kids that learning is important, and it's even enjoyable and fun, and it's something that they should want to do. And I think that education and particularly wanting to learn is maybe one of the most important things, as opposed to just what you know, but wanting to learn and knowing how to learn, all those things are very important to promoting a really high quality education. So here are some examples. This is me. I'm Cynthia Harder. I'm an online graduate student. So that is a form of formal adult education. I have grades. There's a progression of courses that I need to take, and once I take all of the required courses, I will end up with hopefully a degree. I think online learning is great because it can increase accessibility and opportunities for people who otherwise may not be able to. Some people may be a parent or maybe working and may not be able to travel, or they may not live close to a place that offers the type of education that they want. So going to school online can increase those opportunities. Personally, I consider myself neurodivergent and I have been diagnosed with ADHD. I find it easier to learn from home online without distractions that can sometimes come in class. So I think that's another thing that increases accessibility. Also, especially these days, technology such as Zoom can make online education even more interactive because we can actually have face-to-face connections with our instructors and fellow classmates. Here's another example. This would be more of an informal example of adult and community education. This is my friend Rebecca Wolf. She is a public librarian at the Allen County Public Library here in Indiana. I volunteer with her sometimes, but she saw an opportunity at her library where people with disabilities were coming in with with the organizations where they would spend the day and they would sit and watch a movie, which is great. But she thought, why don't we have some dedicated programming for those kinds of people? So she worked with the library system and her fellow librarians to create some really cool programming where she either goes out in the community to those kinds of organizations that work with adults with intellectual or developmental disabilities, or she has programs where they come to the library. She'll read stories, sing songs, have like creative expression opportunities or games. So I think it's a really amazing example, especially the fact that she saw an opportunity to increase inclusion of people from a marginalized group, in this case, people with disabilities. And yeah, and she's had a very successful program. So I think that's awesome. Here's another example. This would be more non-formal. So for me and my husband, one of our bucket list goals is to go to Japan someday. So if you watch a video about going to Japan, or any video where you're learning, but like travel in particular can be a really great opportunity for learning. You learn about a different culture. It's immersive. Um, and and just even watching the video to prepare is a form of education. So I think that one of the most important things that we can keep in mind with learning is that we really should involve our own personal interests, goals, and aspirations. It makes learning, I think, more meaningful and more enjoyable. And yeah, so this is just an example of how we can be learning all the time. You don't need to go to school. You don't need to go leave your home. Yeah, there's probably a lot of ways that you're learning that you didn't even really think about as an actual form of learning. So in conclusion, there are really an infinite number of adult and community education opportunities. Like we mentioned, some of the formal ones, like actually going to a college or university to pursue a degree, going to a professional certification course. Those are some formal opportunities. Informal opportunities would be maybe going and taking a class at your local community center, going to a program at your public library. Things like that are informal opportunities, and some non-formal opportunities are just things that you may do in your everyday life. Reading a book, listening to a podcast, watching a video, talking with friends about something that interests you. Something like my friends and family, we're all planning to watch the upcoming eclipse. That's something that we've been learning about and engaging with each other, and that's been a non-formal learning opportunity that's been really exciting to me. Adult and community education should emphasize diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think that's very important, something we should keep in mind if we're facilitating or administering adult and community education programs. Are we keeping those things in mind? Are we ensuring that our programming and our opportunities are accessible to everyone? There are many benefits to adult and community education beyond just gaining the knowledge and skills. It can benefit our physical, mental, and emotional health, can build community and social inclusion, and fostering lifelong learning, which I just think is a really great thing. And I think that we all should aspire to be lifelong learners. So I hope that everybody supports adult and community education. I hope that everybody thinks about will kind of look at their lives and how they're actually engaging in adult and community education and learning all the time. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed the presentation and that everybody has a great day.